Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And our new regular member, Jason.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everyone.
How's everyone doing this fine day?
Oh, everybody's doing good.
Yeah, doing real good.
I feel like it's kind of tradition now to talk about it, but man, the weather today has been beautiful.
Yes, it has.
I feel like it's a trope now that I have to talk about it, but the only thing I can say is living in Louisiana is I'm not really a big fan of it going from like 80-something degrees, mid-80s.
To the 40s.
To like the next day, the high is like 50-something.
Good old South Louisiana.
Right.
I don't like the weather.
The thing is,
wait 15 minutes.
You're right. I love the cold weather, and I've said that on the show before many times. I love the weather. I love the cold weather. I love it. But the only thing I would have liked was a little bit of a buffer for this go round.
to me, the ideal is like 82 for a high and like 45 to 50 degrees for a low.
Really? Okay. Wow.
If I could have that, I guess I wouldn't be living in South Louisiana.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere on the West Coast.
The cold weather. I would rather it be cold than hot.
Yeah.
You can only take off so many clothes before it just becomes embarrassing.
Yeah, public indecency.
But you can always wrap up on something else and layer.
Right. I'm pretty sure that's happening currently. Mallory's bundled up with every single blanket that she can find in the bed watching a TV show of some kind. So
okay.
She's in her happy space. So
Miranda has about a 3-degree window.
Okay.
That she's comfortable.
Okay.
Too cold or too hot, unless it's that 3-degree window.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
I would rather be cold. I like the chill in the air.
Yeah.
I like the fireplace or a little bonfire. Can't do that if it's 100 degrees out there.
No. I love campfires. I love like doing
Campfires are
s'mores
nice.
by campfires. I love doing like a little bonfire, a little outside kind of thing.
This is the weather for it.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect.
I think we're going to have cold weather here for the rest of the week.
I know. And that was what I was saying is like I have like the rest of this week is going to be nice and beautiful and wonderful. And
Well, Tuesday it's going to rain.
well, I mean,
Bad.
But
We're getting a lot of,
It's just these fronts coming through. So
okay, well, I need rainwater at my house. So actually, it's a good thing. I can put my containers out and hopefully collect enough for my my plants that have been not happy.
I see. Okay. Well, okay. So today we had we kind of touched on this a little bit in our previous episode with Jason. We talked about HOAs and again how communication is such a big. It can fix a lot if you just sit down and talk with somebody. So you actually said that you had found an article of some kind. Would you?
Yeah, I found this. I Googled this. It was in Frontiers of Psychology, if I recall the kind of the title as far as the I guess the journal that this is located in.
Right.
But the title of the article is technology enhancing or hindering interpersonal communication, a framework and preliminary results to examine the relationship between technology use and nonverbal decoding skill. And that's a lot.
That's great. That's a great title. But it also, I've said it before on the podcast, and it gives me an opportunity to say it again. Cell phones bring us closer to people further away from us, and they make us further away from the people sitting right next to us.
Right.
And I think that's a good example of your title there. So,
well, I have some interesting stats here just to kind of open up real quick.
Well, we like stats on the show. Give us some stats.
That's really going to I pulled these stats. It's like Facebook and Snapchat and just kind of the overall use of social media. But they say in 2020, 350 million photos uploaded to Facebook, 500 million tweets, 3 billion Snapchats, and over 26 billion texts by Americans alone.
Wow.
That's insane. That's a lot. Before we get too deep in the weeds, I just took the first sip out of this. So a friend of mine bought me, Ben, if you're listening, this Knob Creek 9-year, and I think I had it a little while ago, and I think I've actually given it to you, Jason, on the past few episodes. This is the first time I've drank it in probably a handful of months, so this is actually amazing.
I love Knob Creek. Knob Creek was one of my favorites.
I just took a sip of this, and I was like, damn, I think I've just woke up here. This is amazing.
Being you're the Canadian representative,
maybe,
also,
yeah.
you might like the smoked maple Knob Creek.
Oh, really?
It is so good.
Oh, man.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah, it has nice color.
Yeah, it's a dark color from what I am. But again, I've been drinking Scotch, I think, recently, which is very light in color. But man, it's I don't know. Sorry, I had to say something.
No,
about
sorry,
it.
I love Knob Creek. So.
I just got hit in the face real good. So, anyways, but yeah, those statistics.
See, that's communication.
Right.
See? It fits into
right.
This will open up all kind of communication channels.
Right. For me, it just I feel like I had to. It was heavy on the burden was heavy on my shoulders. I'm kidding, but that is crazy to think about, especially 2020 with the pandemic and everything involved with that. Man, I can imagine that the only line of communication you had was, via social media or text message or something, which is insane. That kind of
and I'm gonna tell you, it varied depending on what part of the country you were in, because there were some communities that were really locked down.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yeah.
We had some lockdowns here, but nothing compared to what I heard about other places.
Right. Well, especially with more people, like more densely packed people. I think they also had a very...
I heard people were getting fined for going out and cutting their grass.
Oh, my gosh.
It's crazy. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Extreme, but, it was happening.
Right.
Well, in the advent of... And I still have just about every piece of technology that I've ever owned. I had the first pager that was a pen, and all it did was beep, and you knew to call the answering service because they had a message for you.
Wow.
And then it changed to pagers and alpha pagers and bag phones and brick phones and things like that, and I've kept all of that technology. There was even a movie company that wanted to buy it from me for props.
I bet.
And technology today, things have just changed so much. You lose a lot in a text or an email. Mm-hmm. There's no emotion. And I don't care what anybody says about the emojis. Most old people can't even see them emojis on it anyway.
Right.
So we got no clue anyway. So you lose so much in that. We were talking in the precast stuff when we're sitting.
Oh, is that what we're calling it now? The precast?
Yeah, the precast.
Okay.
Letters used to be the primary form of communication.
Right.
And in the 1700s and such, a man might have to leave for 3 years to go do his job, being in the military or go on a ship and go fishing or travel the world. And all they had was letters. Romantic letters would be 15 pages long. And true love letters. And that's how they communicated over that space of time. And we don't have that anymore. We're losing that communication. We're losing the writing ability. We're losing the ability to put emotion to paper.
Right.
Well, it takes time also to write a 15-page letter. I mean, think of especially when you're talking about emotional topics. I mean, with the romantic interest or such. Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to commit that to paper, and
and thought.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody that really writes letters anymore. I really don't. I mean, I don't know of anybody.
I haven't done it on a regular occasion, but I've done it as a nice gesture for people, both leaving and coming back from Canada. I had like handwritten notes for people, like in the community that I was a part of, both there and home, and had given it to them as just like a kind gesture to have, like a little something. But again, like because I don't write often, like again, I wish I would have had better handwriting or like it would have looked prettier or nicer or whatever. That's one thing that I realized, like for a job where at one point in time I had to do like a lot of writing, I got better at it, but I realized like this is just as much of a skill as, anything else.
Well, as the millennial representative on the show, do you know how to write and read cursive?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, now
you're
again,
like the few, because we could crush a generation just by writing in cursive.
You're right.
And driving stick shift cars now.
I know both of those.
Oh, okay.
I got both of them.
You're the exception.
Now, what I will say is, like, I have not written in cursive probably since late elementary school. So I mean,
I remember in school, because I went to a Catholic school and raised by nuns. And you were graded on penmanship, and you had to write, and you got a grade for that. And so, up until recently, I haven't really. I used to write in cursive all the time. I find myself I'm not doing it as much anymore. Partly because now you type everything.
Of course,
I'm actually very lucky in the sense that my handwriting is so bad it looks like cursive, so I can get away with it either way. So I'm very lucky in that.
I used to always get good grades in penmanship.
Okay.
I could see that.
Subtle flex.
I could see that.
I'm kidding.
I wish I got the same grades in math.
Right. Of course. Wow, yeah. I remember I had penmanship class as well, and it was for like writing in cursive. I remember I did decent at it, but like reading it was always a little hard, that's for me at least. But I mean, that's
cursive. You have to be careful, because sometimes it can just be like chicken scratch, and you really
it's
can't
just
read it.
scribbles.
There's some people's I can't read. I mean, it's just so bad. That's why I just tell everybody, just print,
please.
It just makes it a whole lot easier.
Well, but okay, we're talking about communication, so now you can print. And then you can write all things in caps to make it easier. And now in this generation, if you write everything in caps, you're screaming at me.
Yeah,
that's right.
So the communication forms are changing, and the way people view those things are changing. And just the emotion is gone from it.
And then another thing is jokes or sarcasm is always a thing for me that I've realized never quite translates the way you want it to in a lot of ways. Sometimes jokes can kind of land in a certain way, but I realized just recently, I was talking to a friend of mine. Actually, let me just go ahead and pull it up. This is actually a great. This joke was funny, and I think he laughed. But I was like, I would have rather heard his honest reaction in person, because I thought the joke was funny. That's just me, though.
Go ahead and tell us what it is, and we'll give you our honest opinion.
I want to hear this joke.
We were talking about our birthdays and stuff like that, and he told me his birthday, and I told him, I was like, I have 29 coming up around the corner for me, and he was like, it's gonna be 23 for me, sadly. And I was like, nah, dude, 23 was like the best for me. Like that was when I went to Canada and really did some great and very poor life decisions. And then he said, mine's been good so far, but I think to myself, I want to be a kid still, but the number keeps rising, which means I can't anymore, meaning he can't be a kid anymore. And then I just responded with, says who? I still act like a big kid. I could just do my taxes better now, I guess.
That's funny. That
right. And again, I got a nice laughing emoji, but I was like, I felt proud of that one, but it just didn't really.
You have to be careful with stuff you text now, because you really don't know how people are going to take it, because they just really can't read your face. They can't pick up your emotions.
Yeah. And then you also had the luxury. You had the luxury of like reading it and repeating it and repeating it and really like overthinking it sometimes. Because I've been guilty of that with love interest or like superiors at a boss or something. That's like whenever they text something, and you're always like, was that? Are you upset? Are you sad? I don't like what
Well, one of the things that men do a lot. I'm fine.
Oh, right.
How are you?
Right.
I'm fine. Well, when I'm sitting here and I ask you, Jason, how are you? And you come back with, I'm fine. You and I actually are trained in body language. So we know when somebody's lying or not. Ian, you've been around the world. You've seen and stuff like that. You've had enough experience to start picking up body language. Well, in this world of technology, body language is a dying art. It's extremely gone. It's just very few people know now what to do and how to say. So when a man says, I'm fine, and you can't see what's behind his eyes,
then they're fine.
And you don't know what's the old saying, the problem with being strong is no one ever asks if you're okay.
Right.
So now our response is, I'm fine. I'm living the dream.
Right.
And now we've lost that ability to look at somebody while you're having a conversation and know what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Can we fix this? Can we put that toothpaste back in the tube again?
Oh, that sounds like a challenge. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Can we do that? I mean,
yeah.
it's true, because I don't know. I mean, if we're losing this art, what does that bode for the future?
Right.
I mean,
does it help with the offensiveness that people are so easily offended now today?
And it could be that what we're experiencing now, that you see playing out on the news and political rallies and all these other things that are going on, people always seem angry. And I'm wondering.
Well, that was one of the things we brought up on the podcast before, is what COVID and wearing the mask has done is remove the humanity from people.
Right.
Even driving down the road, things like that. So are we killing that interpersonal relationship skill set that has taken us generations to develop, and we're just wiping it out very quickly?
Right.
We're turning inward.
Yeah.
We're really becoming our own self-contained universe.
Right.
For all intents and purposes.
Well, some people on this world believe the universe revolves around them.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
That's crazy.
Shout out to the Karens of the world.
There's also some other guys out there that are, the same way. So, I mean, they're... Sorry, we just got an interruption. I can't bounce back from that one. I was
okay.
I was in the middle of a sentence.
Is the on air light not on out there?
It's not.
Wow.
Anyways,
can I shoot them when they come in like that?
Maybe.
Okay.
You need to get you like a camera or something where you can see who's
right. So, anyways, there's
That's
this.
never happened before.
A
year and a half.
See there.
No. What I will say is that it has happened before, but a lot of times I'm able to roll it off better. But my brother didn't pick up on the hint, and then I had to stop what I was doing, and then it made it obvious. So I just decided just to fess up and.
I think we could get a couple of those airsoft guns, and the next time
100%,
100%,
yeah.
Just light them up.
I just want just whole Nerf guns just ready to go. So, anyways,
we can make that happen.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yes, but I think that there's both parties are guilty of that, of thinking that the world revolves around them, and it's just, and that's there's so much to do with how society is right now as well, and it makes me kind of sick to see.
Yes, I agree.
Self-absorbed.
But is it sick because that's a choice that the individual is making at that moment, or is it just a natural byproduct of the evolution of our society, and as we become more and more kind of plugged into the net, so to speak, and we just become part of this?
Wasn't that a movie with Bruce Willis where he was, the whole world is, they never leave their house? And it's
Replicas.
Yes.
Replicas was the
if
name of that
you've never
movie.
seen that one,
I've
you need
not.
to see that one too.
I mean, that's where we're going.
Basically where we're going
So
with this metaverse and with everything else. You never leave your house. You go to work, you're still in your
everything. I understand the convenience. I understand the business model, but like every single company nowadays just has things that ship to your house. And I was like, I want to go outside the house and go to a store.
Right.
Can I go to like a brick and mortar store to go get something? And everyone's like, nope, you just got to have it shipped to your house. I'm like, why? I don't want that. Anyways, but the point that I'm making, I think, which makes
you can have food delivered. We
well,
went
now
out to
I
a
can't.
Nice dinner last night with Tom and Carol and William and Ellen and Miranda and I, and we sat and we laughed. And we had so much fun. I don't want to lose that.
Right
now, you can just have food delivered to your house. It's already cooked. It's convenience is now taking precedent over going out and meeting people.
I can't shit on that too much because I have HelloFresh right now, which is actually really nice. But I didn't buy it for the convenience. I bought it for the recipes.
But that's what I was fixing to say. You take it, and Miranda's done the same thing.
Right.
You take it, and you look at the recipe, and then you make it your own, and now it gives you ideas for something to do together. And but you still like being a host. You're one of the best
course.
hosts on the planet.
Oh,
so
thank you.
you're not doing it for the convenience of it. You're not doing it to take you away from people.
Right.
You're doing it to give you an example of something that you can do to now invite people to your home.
Right.
So you're not doing that.
Yeah. I'm just saying that's the same sort of thing, but we're talking about. But to answer, or to, I guess, comment on the statement you made is, I think the reason why it makes me feel sick is like I was born in this kind of middle generation where like I was not born with an iPad in my hand. But at the same time, I was not born like before internet. Like I had dial-up, and we had a computer in the home whenever I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, that like I needed to like request access to the internet if I even knew what that was at the time. So it's like, for me, I think why it makes me frustrated is like I live my life. I'm aware enough that I can look at social media and look at what's going on and go, this isn't probably healthy for me, and I can take a step back. I can understand somebody
Some people can't do that.
I can understand that people can't do that, and especially people now, and I can understand how difficult it is, like kids now, that they're just like born in that world. That's all they know. And it's like, I can understand why I have more sympathy for someone like that. That's like, that it's just, that's all they know. Whereas like somebody that's in my age bracket or a little bit older, it just feels like they're falling into this trap, which again, it's this kind of cyclical thing of like social media and other platforms like that really incentivize you doing a certain thing and being self-centered and like keeping up this never-ending sequence. And it's like, you don't have to do that, but they feel like they have to, and it's
Right.
like anyway. That's what I think. That's why it makes me upset about that kind of stuff. Is like you don't have to do that. If
I think about growing up, that before there was an internet,
Right.
before any of this modern stuff was around, and it was just, you were really forced to interact with people.
Yes.
You had no
yeah.
choice,
Mm-hmm.
and it made us better because there were people you disagreed with, and
Right.
you just had to deal with it. Now people can hide.
Yes.
They
Well,
get
they have
behind
big
a
internet
screen.
balls.
They have big internet balls,
Yes.
exactly.
Yep.
Instead of actually looking someone in the eye, would you say that? And, we had fights. You get into
Of course.
fights in the street or whatever the case may be. You made up afterwards, and life just went on.
Yep.
This world is very alien to
Yeah,
me.
right.
It just is.
Well, we on the show we called it the age of the cancel culture.
It's
It's
just
simple. If you don't like it, I'm done. Erase it.
I never would have pictured in my brain that the world would evolve the way it has.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And I'm not very old.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I'm not. And it's just, it's a shame that it has to be that way, but I don't see any other way that it's going to change, because technology is not going away.
No.
I mean, if anything, we're going to even get more plugged into whatever
Right.
cloud exists in the sky.
Whatever
Well,
the new thing
it's
is.
actually getting worse. While we were talking, I looked up a couple of numbers. The average person spends 2 hours and 27 minutes per day on social media, which it sounds funny, but that's a 2-minute increase from last year.
Wow.
That's a lot.
You
You know,
extrapolate 2 minutes, that's a lot.
We never have enough time to do what we need, and then you translate that to how much time they spend at work.
Yeah.
How much are you actually stealing from your employer on your social media time? And then you get home and you're spending, more time on social media and these things, and you're just losing your ability to communicate with other people.
I think that's why I'm so frustrated with like TikTok, for instance. It's
mindless.
It's so invasive.
Yes.
Like about the information that they steal from you and that they hold on to without your knowledge or like complete consent of, if you actually had the choice to, is like kind of baffling. And then on top of that, they're also like the content on there is just curated to like really feel like it's brainwashing you. And it's like, man, I don't feel good about any of this.
Well, I did an experiment. Do you remember the video with Magnus
Yes.
and me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'll have to show you a video after the show. Actually, there's 2 videos now. One, I snuck up on Magnus.
It's very wholesome, very father-son, very wholesome father-son video.
And I passed gas in the back of his head, and his reaction was recorded.
It's great.
And to show him how stupid and mindless social media is, I posted it on TikTok. And very quickly, it went semi-viral. Well, a week and a half ago, I did it again.
Uh-oh.
And posted it on TikTok again. And this one's a little bit funnier because his reaction is awesome.
Love it.
And it almost tripled the views
Oh
that
my
the first
gosh.
one had in less than 48 hours.
Right.
What this stuff is just mindless goofiness, brain cell killing stuff to give you an excuse from going to do what you want or justify not having enough time and doing what you really need to do.
Okay, can I say, now that we're kind of tiptoeing into this discussion for a second, I just want to say something real fast. There was a point in time in my high school days where I was stressed out about school stuff and relationship stuff and all like that, and I escaped away to video games as as an escape from my reality for a minute. But there was always a turn-off point where like I went back to do what was responsible. Even in my adult life, I've done the same thing where it's like I need to stop playing around to like get the important stuff done that I need to get done. And I commend myself for having that kind of barrier because I know it hasn't always been that strong for me. And I know that some people don't have that at all. And I feel like that's it, is that you have your cell phone with this app that can give you this like instant like escape from the real world. And it makes you fun. It makes you laugh. It is funny, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that means that it's healthy.
Well, it's funny you said that. I too was a gamer.
Right.
As old as I am, I'm still a gamer.
Of course.
To a certain extent.
I love gaming.
It's great.
I was in Cal for a while, which is Cyber Athletes League, for many years. But before I could do the gaming, and I had barriers for myself.
Right.
I had to get my work done. I had to get my things around the house done. And my reward was the gaming.
Of course.
I took blocks of time and said, if I do this, this, and this, then I'll give myself this much time.
Right.
And I was able to create those barriers too now. Being a married man now, my barriers are a little bit more stringent. I don't really game as much. Every once in a while, I may go take a 20 or 30-minute block, and I'll tell Miranda, hey, I'm going to do something mindless for a while. Okay, baby. And I'll go spend 20 or 30 minutes. I'll get my fix. Part of that...
and I'll play Tetris for 30 minutes.
Has one of my oldest friends, who I actually never met, passed away due to COVID.
Oh, you told me about that.
And we spent probably 15 years knowing each other on the internet, gaming.
Yeah.
Never met. I was supposed to go see him at the end of this year.
That's crazy.
But he had double lung transplant, and most people don't really recover well from that. And he did. He was doing amazing, well enough to travel down. He lived in Washington to go down to see his daughter in San Diego, and caught COVID and never left the hospital.
Damn.
And so my gaming days just really seemed to be over. But my barriers were always there. I always knew that if I had something to talk about, I had my friend there. We always had our, could talk, and there was something there. When my little brother was in the Navy, we couldn't always communicate.
Right.
And so I would worry about him. But we played this little text-based game back a long time ago. And I knew if he was attacking, he was fine.
Yeah, right.
So he didn't have to tell me anything.
All right.
I just knew. And it was always that communication was still there.
Right.
But now people just don't use it for that. They use it to get away from everything, absolutely everything. And I hate that.
That's crazy.
Now we found out that Jason here is a gamer too. So
that's fun.
Hey.
I love gaming, but I'm more of a first-person shooter type gamer. I love those type of games.
That's awesome. I remember I was in high excuse me, I was in high school during like the height of World of Warcraft and like the big MMO thing, and so I had played some of those for a while, and I met friends from all over the world, Australia, Canada, from the West Coast, and up in like the Northeast Coast. We all used to be part of like a, I guess you call it clan or something, a group or whatever. And like, I remember we used to all, because we all had schedules, and some of them were adults, and I was in high school. There were we used to schedule out like sessions where we would do raids or whatever, and that was a big thing that I remember was like we had Sunday run day, which like after I would come home from church, I would go there, and of course like after lunchtime we would like early afternoon we all had time, we would do like a raid or whatever for a while, and that was like, again, same thing.
I haven't heard that term in a while.
I know, right? Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, so, but again, that was back in 2010, 2008. But like, it was crazy how like I had friends from around the world I never met, and it was the same sort of thing. I had pretty lasting relationships with some of those people. Some of them not so much, very fleeting, but some of them were.
So it gives us the opportunity to meet new people, but do you take advantage of that and utilize that and learn things about other cultures and other people?
Right.
Or is this communication and hiding behind the screen and the keyboard? We're losing the ability to really communicate, because a lot of communication is visual.
It is.
It's visual.
That's
A
why we
person's
have
body language, a person's, their eyes,
whenever I'm meeting someone new or whenever I'm able to like really conversate with somebody, I always like going into like the deeper conversation and not just like keeping it surface level for too long. And I finally met somebody that is very much like me in my own personality. He's a new friend of mine, Dominic, that I met through Ethan. And man, it is so awesome to be able to sit down and talk with somebody and just have like just a 2-hour-long conversation with somebody and really feel like I get him on like a personal level. And again, being able just to communicate with him and just like have him in the same area and be able to like pick up on his body language and just laugh and joke and cut up. It's so refreshing.
But the communication side of it, when this airs,
right.
Yesterday will have been Miranda and I's 2-year anniversary for meeting each other.
Really? Wow.
And we were introduced. Isn't that insane?
I remember when that happened.
Yes. I remember the night we met. We were introduced by some friends, and it was a double date, double date.
I remember you coming in at church like that Sunday or whatever, or at least I think it was, and you were like, I think I found somebody, but she's really gorgeous and is a doctor. And I was like, whoa, there you go.
But I remember all of the details of her face,
her
reactions. I remember her kind of sitting with one leg crossed and her arms folded, just kind of looking me up and down like, I'm not sure I like this one yet.
She's checking you out.
She was visually looking at these same markers that we're talking about.
That's right.
Looking for the red flags, looking for the little things that can tell her a little bit about me. And I'm doing the same with her.
Right.
And now we have dating sites. And we have all of these forms of communication and technology that are taking us away from just meeting somebody and going, I like this person. Now what do you have to do to get to know somebody? And then as it turns out, you got catfished or something. And it's,
wow.
Dating sites.
I'm so glad I got to meet Miranda that way, to where we could have that communication from day one, and we've never lost it because we built that way. We've never lost it.
Dating sites. I have utilized dating sites before, and
I think they can be very valuable tools.
I'm not saying they aren't.
They have. I understand the premise behind them, that they're designed to put you in front of someone that matches the criteria you're looking for in a prospective partner.
Right. But it also maybe a person you may not have like bumped into.
It's never worked for me. I've never really had any success with dating sites. I'm more of a person that if I'm going to meet somebody, I just kind of want to randomly meet them. Mm-hmm. I have found the best, encounters I've had or through that medium. It's just meeting someone random.
The one success that I had on a dating app, I got friend zoned, I think, pretty hard, like after like the second or third time we hung out. But at that time, I don't think I was really interested in her in that way, and we actually had like a really long-standing friendship after that.
There's ways of getting out of the friend zone.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's what I was saying. It's like whenever I noticed that I think I was getting in the friend zone,
supposedly.
Right. Some don't involve the police.
right. Whenever I think I noticed I was kind of in the friend zone at that point, I realized I was like, I don't think I'm kind of okay with this because I like just hanging out with you, and I don't think I want to be with you in a romantic way. I just kind of want to hang out with you and chill. And then I think, like I said, so I say in the friend zone as if it was a bad, like negative connotation. But for me, I was also kind of like, it kind of is mutual. But anyways, but I think it's funny because her and I were actually we were pretty close for a handful of years there after that. So it's just crazy. But I think it'd be Are
you going to call her and tell her to listen to this podcast?
Absolutely not. If she is listening right now, hey, I mean, that's awesome. But it's been a while since I've actually talked to her. Mm-hmm. But anyways, I think it could be I think the premise and the idea is it could be a very powerful tool that could help you encounter more people that you otherwise may not have. But I do think, like a lot of other things in today's day and age, it really gets bastardized into something that is not.
Well, it's funny, we keep saying tool. We keep using the word tool, and it is a great tool. But if you have tools in your tool chest and you decide not to keep boundaries with those tools and you use the wrong tool for the wrong job, you're going to get hurt, you're going to break something, or even cause loss of life. So if it's a tool, even social media is a tool. Let's say I need a 15 or 20 minute release from life and I want to look at something funny. Great. Look at it for 15, 20 minutes, put it aside, and then go tend to your work. But if you lose now on 2.5 to almost 3 hours a day on this, you're abusing the tool. You're losing something. You're doing something that's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, you are. It's like I live alone, so I have no one at my house to kind of talk to.
Okay, yeah.
So I have to
talk to yourself.
Go out. Yeah.
If he wants intelligent conversation, he talks to himself.
I do that. Sometimes you do that too, but for the most part, I like to go out to various restaurants, and I have friends there that sit at the bar and have a drink or have a meal because I don't cook. Because I like to go out to eat.
Right. I mean,
can you cook?
I actually have cooked before, and I can, but it's hard to cook for just you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I just go to restaurants around my house that I can have me a drink and sit down and chat with people I know because everybody I know they don't cook either.
Right.
Because they're at the restaurant too.
So they're talking about just like people in your community and people around you is I think we talked about this either it may have been at this point probably over a year ago. At our local, for branding reasons, I'll say supermarket, there is this greeter. Her name is Janice. Super nice older lady, and she's just a greeter, and she checks the receipt and everything, just like a greeter would. And she has really taken a liking to Mallory and myself because I think we just were.
You were friendly with her?
I think we're also. I mean, for the most part, we're also, I think, pretty well put together, and we're also kind and easy to talk to. So there's been numerous people that work at the supermarket that are like, you guys just always come in here looking so nice. And they just feel like they can talk to us. I don't know what it is. But again, it usually always sparks conversation. And if, because of the work that I've done in the past and,
you made a connection.
But with Miss Janice, we always go in there kind of towards, after we get off of work. So it's usually always towards the afternoon. She works the night shift. And we'll always go in there, and she always gives us a wave, and will always talk to us, and is super sweet. And again, I probably know more about that lady's life and her kids and her doctor's appointments than I probably do even my own mom at this point.
Because a lot of people take those jobs because they're not having the communication that they need in their life. And so they take those jobs so that they can enhance their communication and just human response on a day-to-day level.
Right. The whole point of me bringing that up was the fact that, like, I could be like many other people that go inside that supermarket and just keep their headphones in and just give a nice nod and, of course, keep moving, and that's it. But there was a couple of occasions where I believe she was getting her knee replaced. I want to say she's like in her 70s. She looks very good for in her 70s. But so she was going to be out of work for a while. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when she told me when her last shift was. And so we made it a point to go grocery shopping on her last shift. And Mallory bought her some flowers, and it really touched her in a way. And then the more I thought about that, I was like, if I never would have thought to ask or have a brief conversation, even though she has a job and I didn't want to keep her too long, but just these little interactions here and there, just like talking and just asking questions and being curious and being intentional about caring for somebody that you have no real requirement to. Mm-hmm. It really made a connection for Mallory and I, and of course we both get a little excited when we walk into the store and she's there, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
You made the world a little bit better,
right?
And I do believe if more people did that, we probably would have less strife in this world than we have now.
So, and she collects pins and stuff, and so when we came back from Disney World, we bought like a little small like pin of like the Cinderella's castle or whatever. We gave it to her as a little gift, and she was like, "Oh my god," was kind of freaking out, but I don't know. It's just little things like that I thought about. That's for me, is a good example of like, I need to do things like that more often. I feel like in my life of just reaching out to people, even like for her, who I have no relation to at all. My deepest bond with her is going grocery shopping on a Wednesday afternoon. Whereas like I have other friends that I may not have done that to, that I probably actually will care more about because they've been involved in my life more.
The fun fact about that is you don't know what it does for her.
Right.
For you, it may just be, hey, this little fun thing that we do, and we're gonna, but for her, that may wrap up a little bit more for her.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you're right.
Was there any interesting statistics in that article that you had? Is there any points that you would like to bring out?
No, I mean, other than I downloaded this thing, and there's a lot of stats on here, and we would just
be drowning in.
We would drown in all this, but I was just curious about like Facebook, like total number, and these stats were last updated in February of this year.
Okay.
Total number of monthly active users, 2.91 billion.
Wow.
Total number of mobile active users, 2.7 billion.
Are those separate?
It's showing two separate stat categories.
Okay, because for a second I thought you said that the
total number of monthly active users, it shows 2.91 billion. And then it has another stat, total number of mobile active users, 2.75 billion. And then it goes on and on.
It was like 200 million people are just on the computer, I guess.
Right, and total number of daily active users, 1.93 billion.
Wow.
So, and then they break it down. They even got it break down by demographics. 56% of Facebook users are male. 44% are female.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The largest demographic group of Facebook users is between the ages of 25 and 35. 18.8% are male and 12.8% of the population are female.
Man, I didn't know that Facebook's got a male millennial following. That's interesting.
Right. Around 7 in 10 U.S. adults, 69% use Facebook.
Nice.
Seniors, 65 and plus, are the smallest demographic group, which is to be expected.
Well, when Facebook first came out, you had to be a student.
Right.
You can only be a student user.
23.8% of Facebook users are 18 to 24 years old. 82% of college graduates are on Facebook. 75% of online users with an income of more than $75,000 are on Facebook.
How do you know these metrics? Wow.
I mean, this is just based upon...
That's crazy.
The largest population on Facebook is from India. Over 320 million users.
Wow.
Followed by 190 million in the United States.
That is a fraction of that. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, it goes on. And then I think there was another one here called, I think this is Snapchat. And they showed total number of daily active users, 319 million.
Okay.
Q4 2021 Snapchat revenue, $1.3 billion.
That's insane.
Number of snaps created every day, and that's photos and videos,
right.
5 billion plus. The average time, 30 minutes. Now on Snapchat, it says around 54.4% of the Snapchat users are female. 44.6% are male.
Wow.
India has the most Snapchat users.
Of course, the largest population.
115.95 million, followed by the U.S. at 106.2 million.
Oh, that's actually not a very large gap.
Mm-mm.
The third country based on Snapchat audience is France, 24.1 million.
Wow, that is a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a sheer drop off.
India and the United States are driving social media right now.
Wow.
So yeah, and it goes on and on all this stuff.
Is there Instagram?
This is Snapchat.
No, did they have
Now, I didn't find Instagram.
Okay.
Maybe it did, but I just found Facebook and Snapchat.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably intermingled between Facebook, possibly. Now that Facebook
owns Instagram.
or something. It's all part of the same branch. Maybe there's, I don't know. Who knows? That's crazy, though. That is.
I never would have thought India was that connected to social media.
Right. I think I had like a sneaking suspicion, but not that much, though. Almost 200 million more people.
They're the second largest population in the world is India outside of China.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Yep.
And China and the Chinese pretty much cracked down on
social media, right?
Oh yeah, heavily. I think they actually have their own social media brands that are very heavily regulated, at least from what I remember.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Those numbers are just insane.
That is nuts.
So are we?
So we're not going to get this. We're not going to put this genie back in the bottle. I think it's out.
Okay, so
the question is, where does it go from here?
I wouldn't be surprised if like some sort of. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like I feel like a lot of times there's these ebbs and flows in history. I feel like. And this feels like one of those really big waves, and it's going to have a really big crash. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. I'm not trying to predict anything or, knock on wood or anything like that. But, like, it just feels like we're going in, like, a really scary direction, especially with TikTok and with people's attention spans and kids now having access to all of it and, like, really having no regulation with some of the stuff they're doing on there. And it's like, man, I just feel like we're like really like snowballing because I think we just kind of have kept the same thing in mind of make it faster, more efficient, easier to have it readily accessible. Like we've had that mentality, what feels like for a while. And now it just feels like everything is so instant and immediate. I feel like at some point, like either there's going to be a generation that like just nixes all of it or I don't know, something's going to happen where...
I think the only thing that's going to nix this is there's some external thing that
happens. That's what I'm saying is like some sort of like...
causes the society to collapse.
Some sort of like fundamental collapse of things, I guess is the thing I'm trying to say is like, government's regulating something or I don't know, or something happens or I don't know. I'm not saying I know what it is. I'm just saying hypothetically, like it just feels like there's just going to be this like turning point. It just feels, at least I guess that's what I'm hoping for.
I mean, even war now. War is raised on social media. I mean, look at war in Ukraine. I mean, Zelensky is sitting there constantly on Facebook and
the Vietnam War was the first war on television.
That's crazy.
It didn't end well.
No, it didn't. It really didn't. And from now we've got it on this.
I just sometimes I don't think war is meant to be broadcast like that.
No.
I often wonder if World War II was covered the way Vietnam was.
Oh, it wasn't on daily television. So Vietnam War was the first daily television.
So I'm curious how World War II would have went if it was covered. If that technology existed back then.
Right.
How that would have worked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the amount of soldiers that were getting killed. Would there have been protests here in America? Hey, we're losing too many soldiers. You know, the Japanese are killing too many American soldiers. I don't want my boy going on to get killed out there.
Mm-hmm.
How that would have changed public opinion. Because we know back in World War II, they came out with movies that stoked those patriotic vibes in the United States. You know, we all know John Wayne and everything else. I mean, the movies were very much tailored to get people behind the war.
Right.
Vietnam, it changed
But the
completely.
news wasn't still as good as it was back then. It wasn't as instantaneous as it was during the Vietnam War. It could still take a couple of days for the numbers to make it to America and then still have to be processed. But in the Vietnam War, it was instantaneous.
Right then.
So.
It's crazy. My thing is, like, what if we go through some sort of, like, second Great Depression kind of thing where something collapses, something messes up, and, of course, like, all this other, like, frivolous nonsense is kind of like, that's what I'm meaning, is, like, the attention is diverted from that because what's more important is feeding my family. You know what I'm saying? Like, that kind of stuff where it's like, I'm not saying it's going to be caused by social media, but it just feels like there's just, I don't know. Just maybe it's a doom and gloom mentality.
It could be, it could be anything. I mean,
what if something happens?
I mean, everything we have on our phones is satellite based. I mean, so something happens to the satellites, then you lose communication. I mean, that's
right.
Well, we actually touched on some of this in a past episode. Are you ready for the apocalypse? The zombie apocalypse.
I don't think we actually talked about this sort of stuff, though. Or did we?
Yep, a little bit of it.
Okay.
Yep.
This feels a little more heavy, I guess.
Yes. We were trying to be fun on that one.
I see.
And it could be anything. It could be a one of those waves coming off the sun. Sunburst. Oh,
solar flare, yeah.
Solar
flare and take off a couple of satellites. Just like that.
You know, that's so funny. Speaking of that, speaking of that kind of stuff, it reminds me of a show that came out on TV. It was on the Vice Network. I don't know if y'all have access to the Vice Network. But
once upon a time, I think I did.
The name of the show was "We're All," something to the effect that we're all gonna die, or something like that. And it's basically it outlined all these potential disasters and our food supply being compromised and on and on and on and on. But that's kind of getting off topic a little bit. But I've always said, though, at the end of the day, people they're gonna sacrifice a lot of stuff for the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They will.
I bet.
I mean, short of food and water.
Right.
Once you get past those two things, the phone is way up there.
Well, people do that now today. If you think about it, some of the new phones are $1,000 to $1,500, and
they're computers now. They're not really phones.
They eat ramen soup to make sure that they pay for their phones and get their phones going. They will sacrifice a lot to keep the latest and greatest technology out there.
You're right. I guess just in the hypothetical that I'm talking about is I'm not going to say social media is going to go away. In fact, in a climactic situation where there's catastrophe or where social media may be beneficial to helping people stay in touch. But I think I'm just talking about this facade of like trying to keep everything buttoned up and pretty and trying to be self-absorbed and all this other stuff. Is like there's a point in time whenever the facade falls away because survival is more important.
Sure.
Where like it's less so about the pretty things and more. I mean for middle to lower class citizens, I'm talking about.
Well, right now we're at the cusp of it falling apart, and people are using it as a drug,
right,
to take them away, get them away from the heartache of the world today.
Yeah.
And so they're using it to compensate for that and do some mindless stuff, so to speak, and get their mind off of the realism of what's happening in the world today.
I've had so many
friends. So if we push it a little further, you're right, maybe that goes away.
I had so many friends that have said this in the past. Like, I get on Twitter or I get on whatever, and it's just this. It's awful, and I hate it, and all that kind of stuff. And I always ask them, like, then why did you get on it in the first place? Like, why, if you know it's going to be like this awful place where every time you leave, you're going to be upset with what you ended up with or the discussion you got involved with, then it just feels like a bad relationship. Drop her.
Well,
Go away.
If you think about it, it is a bad relationship.
You're right,
because
yeah.
what you're dealing with generally isn't true. Because even dealing with Magnus and some of the other people today, they look at these people's lives on social media that have all these cars and these bodies and these things that are so fake, these filters. They're showing people with money and cars. And so now it doesn't teach us to be happy with what we have. It teaches us to compare ourselves to something that's really not attainable out there. And we're just, making ourselves more depressed by going, I want that, I want that, I want that, and I can never have it.
But the thing is, our whole economy is based upon chasing that dream.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just is. I mean, we are constantly pushed to buy. Right. That's why there's so many storage buildings now that are opening up everywhere, because everybody has so much junk. That could be another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But
Chip Foose, the great car maker, said we're teaching our kids today. He's a custom car maker. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He said we're teaching our kids to buy stuff, not to build stuff. And so
we're a consumer nation.
That's it. We're a consumer nation.
Just
we don't want to build anything. We don't want to get our hands dirty anymore. And Ian, you and I don't know about you, we've worked on cars our whole lives.
Oh, yeah.
We can change that battery. We can change the brakes. We can change the alternator.
Modern cars now can't really do that per se. It's like the old days when carburetor and stuff like that. Now it's too many computers.
My cousin and I used to buy old 70s Beetles and used to take the engine out by hand because it was that light where he and I could both manhandle the engine block out of the and get it going from literally not being able to turn over on its own power to making that car run. That was really fun to do. Taking an old busted up Beetle and make it drive. I mean, some of them were a little sketchy, I will say, but some of them were actually really nice and kind of a lot of fun to work on because they're super easy. There's not a lot to them at all. Just a socket set and maybe a trusty screwdriver, and you can work wonders on an old Beetle.
Look, even cars are meant to be disposed now. You drive them for a while, you get rid of them, you get a new one. They're not meant to be maintained.
It's just so messed up.
Well, now when you see a VCR repair company, that's usually a CIA front. It's not. They're not working on anything. They're really just a front for something.
It's a money laundering business. That's all it is.
Yeah, I don't know what. As
crazy.
I said, I worry about where we're going. I do believe I see a future more along the lines of. Have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One?
I've heard of it. I haven't actually watched it.
Need to watch it. There's also a good book on that. And
yes, the book and the movie are good.
I have a feeling that's where we're going. I feel we're going to get even more connected to this giant thing we call the internet, and I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Yikes.
Good or bad, that's just where we're going. Hopefully we'll have enough wisdom. Hopefully we'll have enough wisdom as a society to utilize it in a positive way.
I hope so.
I hope so as well.
That's so
but
scary. We always have to be vigilant.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, we do.
It's a constant process. Well, hopefully, if you want to get any good takeaways from this episode, just go talk to somebody. Go talk to. I don't want to say go talk to strangers because that sounds bad. Children don't talk to strangers. But at the same time, if you're an adult and you're out in a public space, I mean, just go.
Do you know, as far as communication, that was one of the worst things that was ever communicated to kids was the stranger danger thing.
Right.
Because most of the attacks on kids didn't come from strangers. It was good to teach your kids that.
Yeah.
But most of the abuse actually came from somebody you knew or your family or close family or something like that. So that was one of the worst communicative things we've ever done.
I like I said before, especially with that story with Miss Janice, is just don't be afraid to reach out. Do something nice for somebody.
That's one of the good things about, I think, the three of us and even X-Man when he was here with us.
Right.
And Sam and Miranda. We're all good storytellers, and we like to communicate. And this technology that we have is a tool for us. Hopefully we're using it wisely and appropriately to communicate some emotions and some feelings to people. And we get a lot of response back from people, and I think we're doing that.
Right.
I agree. I think this is a great medium to affect some change for the positive.
Right. Yes.
I look forward to working
with
this podcast, and then hopefully we make a difference in people's lives.
That's awesome. X-Man and I were talking about this earlier today, and it is far too easy to lash out at somebody and be frustrated and just ignore people and just not be a good person. But it actually takes effort sometimes to really try and be a good person.
Absolutely.
And just be nice.
We're raised to believe that we can be anything that we want to be. So why can't we just want to be kind?
Right.
Let's just be kind.
It's like the old saying, why is it so easy to be bad?
Right.
And so hard to be good?
Yeah. You have to try. But anyways, I hope we left it on a little bit of a light note. It was getting kind of sad there for a second. Dystopian future and all. I was like, uh-oh. Let's try to
It's all going to be good.
Let's try to rein.
All going to be good.
We're trying to rein this baby back in. But if you're trying to get in touch with us or you want to give us any kind of suggestions, you can reach out to us on Facebook.com/RetrospectPod. Or you can just type in Retrospect Pod on Linktree and you'll be able to find all of our links there and all the places you can listen to our wonderful podcast. But anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Peace.
Love it. A solid hour on that one. That was a